Hey, this is Mike Walter with MikeWalterMusic.com, and you're listening to the Let's Make a Record podcast.
I ain't got no mistletoe for you, but I waited outside all night until my lips turned blue.
So I sat down with the guys from Among the Wolves a few days ago. We actually did a two-parter. This is a second part. First part, we talked primarily about who they were, where they're going, what they're doing. Talked a little bit about making the record. Didn't really focus much on the actual record-making part. Spent some time talking about some songwriting philosophy, which I think is really important, keeping in mind that this podcast really is supposed to cover everything that goes into making a record, as much as I am capable of covering. And songwriting's part of that. You can't make a record until you write songs. Talked a little bit of pre-production, talked a little bit of everything with the guys. This particular podcast, we get more into the gear, we get more into the processes, all of those things. And so hopefully you'll learn something, maybe you won't, but otherwise I hope you enjoy. Here's the guys from Among the Wolves again, part 2.
Merry Christmas.
All right, so this is part 2. So I'm back with the guys from Among the Wolves.
Woof.
Woof, woof, woofs. Woofs. Among the wolves. Last time we talked, just kind of general overview, who you guys are, what we're doing, what we did do. Talked a little bit about pre-pro, but pre-pro with you guys wasn't really that much. Mm-hmm. We're doing more now than we did with the last record, but I think now maybe let's talk about you hit tour, and then in the middle of your tour, which you guys are insane.
True.
In the middle of a tour, you stopped and we did a record, and then you hit the road again.
Yeah. Yep.
So what was more tiring, the record making process or the actual tour?
For me, I think it was the record making process, just because I got a cold.
That's true.
The day before we did that.
That was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, completely lost my voice and had to nurse my voice through the rest of the tour. It was awful.
It was honestly pretty entertaining because the day that he was going to record vocals, the day before, we played a show. And so the rest of that night, he didn't speak, trying to save his voice. And so he kept trying to play charades with us, asking us to do things for him. And it was pretty funny.
Then I figured, I have a phone. I can just text what I want to people.
You guys left that night to play that show. Was it a Friday night?
Yeah, it was Friday night.
Yeah. You drove to Marion. We were in Fort Wayne. And you played the show. You were saying, in the studio, you were saying, well, maybe Jesse could sing some of the songs or Ben could sing. I remember you saying that, thinking, what? I didn't really know. I knew you were stuffy, but I didn't really know you were sick until at the end of the record, you're like, yeah, I can't do the vocals. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to schedule that.
Yeah, so I ended up driving back down in, was it June or July?
Yeah, because as soon as you guys were done, and I backed up the hard drives and turned the lights out and locked the doors, I headed down to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And and the week right before that was funny. The week before that, I crammed another, some friends of you guys, some Nomad, they came in, I crammed them in, and then you guys came in on Sunday afternoon. And I think they finished Saturday night late, and you guys were Sunday at 2:00.
Right.
So I didn't have a lot of a break. We came in, you guys moved in, and literally moved in and with the RV, and we started.
The RV that we signed for in blood.
Did we tell you how we got that RV?
No, you didn't tell me.
That is my uncle's RV, and I asked him if we could use it, and he was like, on one condition, or two conditions. One, don't trash it. Just don't make a mess. I was like, not a problem. Pretty good people about that. The second one was that we had to sign for it in blood. I thought he was joking, and we went to his house to pick up the RV. He got out a a pad and a pen and wrote we had to sign all of our names and then prick our fingers and put blood right next to our signature.
It was pretty metal.
Yeah, that was probably the most metal thing we've done as a pop punk band.
You signed in blood. I think Creed signed their record deal with Wind Up in blood.
Nice.
Oh, you guys are dumb.
And then for like the first 3 days, it was like the nights were super cold and we couldn't figure out how to turn on the heat. Yeah, and we couldn't figure out how to get the heat on. And so it was like the second night we're like, no, we're not dealing with this. We're going to Walmart and buying blankets.
I'll tell you what though, those $9 blankets
They were like $5.
They were $5?
Yeah.
They were really nice.
Yeah, they were these super cheap, like $5 fleece blankets.
Yeah.
And they were super warm.
They were huge too.
They were massive.
Were they those wool ones?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had those. The rolled up ones that kept them in the van. Okay, so you guys came in. You're on the road. You stopped in at the studio. This was a new facility for me. And, yeah, it was scramble, and we were still kind of figuring things out. Still.
Right.
Didn't you get it set up like 2 weeks or a week before we were there?
I got it set up 2 days before.
Oh, 2 days.
Well, no, it was Nomad came in on Thursday night, and it was set up Thursday morning. So Nomad actually came in. I talked about that in the other podcast. They came in to test it out because you guys were going to be in there full time, and that was actually the deal I made with them. Come in, and I'll record your EP, and you help me out. I help you out, because I couldn't have problems with you guys, because when you got in there was no break.
Yeah.
There was because we did a full length 12 songs.
Yep.
In essentially 3 days we tracked it, 4 days we tracked it, right?
Yeah.
And then the fifth day we did some cleanup and we did some overdub things, and I spent 2 days doing some drum edits. Day and a half doing something like that. So it was, and the bad part of it, I had an intern that was supposed to come in, and he was supposed to be doing the drum edit stuff for me.
Yeah.
And he bailed. The day you guys were supposed to come in, I couldn't believe it. So there you go. There's yeah. So it ended up being us, and that was it. I didn't have any other help. So man, it was intense. I know my sister cooked for you.
Yeah.
My sister and my wife cooked for you a couple times, which was good.
That was bomb.
Yeah. So you guys came in. I guess let's just talk about what we did from start to finish. I with you guys, I put you all in the room, in the live room. We ran into the Apollos, and I ran you guys on the guitars at least.
Yeah.
So like everybody, bass was running into. It was DI. Both guitars were just plugged into a DI box, right? Is that what we did?
We set tones.
And just set tones. Dawson was in the room with me. Drums, I think we had maybe a kick mic, a snare mic, and an overhead. Yeah. Just something like that. And then we set set balances for everybody.
Didn't we take the resonance head off of the kick drum?
Yeah, we did that for the actual drum tracks. But for the evening before, when we did our bed tracks, or the scratch tracks, I guess, as I hold up scare quotes, for the bed tracks, yeah. And I just dialed up some tones direct for you guys. I think I used, I know some people might want to know what kind of gear. It was obvious we were using Apollos. The bass was running into that Ampeg VR, whatever the old classic Ampeg is. And then you guys were both using amp room, soft tube amp room, I think. The metal one.
Oh, really?
Because I was dialing in Chandler's tone. He's like, I like more metal stuff. I like more metal tone.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I just want a beefier tone.
I just want more metal. More metal. Oh, well, here we go. So we did that just so we had some scratch tracks for you guys. And Dawson stood next to me, and you just kind of barked at him.
I did like vocal cues because my voice was that morning I woke up and I felt my throat just felt super dry, and I was like, oh man, I think my voice is just gonna die on me. And so I was trying to save it, and so I would just literally sit there like chorus, verse, Punk rock is my addiction. And it was so... I wish we had saved those tracks because they're hilarious. Oh, yeah. Cut in 3, 2, 1.
Well, I kept them.
Oh, nice.
But what was the song that you did? It was already a goofy song.
Oh, the pizza song, Special Something.
Special Something, because we ended up keeping your scratch vocal. Oh.
Pepperoni pizza is the only thing I eat.
Yeah, we kept that underneath. So when people listen to that song, then listen for the vocal and listen underneath. There's a lower vocal. That's actually the scratch vocal that he set next to me in the control room and kind of lounged out like that. Yeah. That was fun. Well, we cranked those all out. We did every single song. And then, and that's at that point where you had all your tempos and stuff. So you came in, you listened to me. We had all our tempos. And so I put them in, we just set it up and I copied over your headphones, your headphone mixes and stuff like that. And we cranked it out. And then the next day, we started on drums. Now, Jesse's not here to really talk about the drums, but I guess I could kind of talk a little bit more about them. But the drums, we used a Gretsch Catalina Ash kit with a Yamaha Stage Custom floor tom, a 16-inch. I'm pretty sure. But one thing we did, though, that was a little interesting, because that room... it was small and it was a square, and I'd done everything I could to diffuse and do acoustic treatment. I got like these little burlap coffee sacks, these coffee bags and stuff. I tried to do some things with that, but I took a paint can because I literally 5 days before was painting those rooms. I took a paint can, and so it still had paint in it, so it had some mass, and I stuck it on the bottom of the kick drum. And I had a blanket in there up against the front head. But I took the paint can, stuck it in there. And what that does, as far as I understand, inside of a kick drum, you get a buildup of about 350 hertz. It's that basketball sound. And then there's up high, there's this kind of a ringing sound. I think it's maybe about 4K, or maybe 2 or 4K. Because it's just a circle. And so you get lots of sound bouncing around inside of it, and you get standing waves. So the paint can... it's really heavy, and it just sits in there, and it kind of diffuses the sound a little bit. So that's why I did that. I stuck that in there, and we ended up using a Beta 52, I think. I don't remember for sure. You guys probably don't even know. You're the guitar player.
I'm just
the drums. I think it was the B52.
I think that's... yeah, I'm pretty sure we used the Beta. So we stuck that in there, and it actually sounded better with the front head off.
Yep.
So we took the front head off, which was, kind of, wasn't really unique, but it was just different. But it was really dry. So I got as dry a sound as I could. And then after you guys left, I went and sampled that kick drum. And so then I could have a really isolated sound of that. And then I used that sample in the record. But everything else was pretty self-explanatory. I actually think I put a video up on Instagram of the drums, but I use these CAD mics. Actually, what you're talking into, I think it's a 97, something 97. I use those on toms. Those are really cool tom mics, and it's got a multi-pattern. It's got you just turn the little dial and it changes the polar pattern on it. And I dialed it in real tight, put it on the toms, and it sounded good. It sounded all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the drums. We don't have Jesse here to kind of talk about it. But one thing with Jesse, though, because we were under such a time crunch, we kind of crushed him.
Oh, poor guy. When we were done with him, he just slept all day the rest of the time we were there.
Yeah. He had to track 12 songs.
In like a day and a half.
Well, I wanted him to do it in a day. I kept telling him in a day. And I knew we were going to have to extend out onto another day. But he tried, man. He tried and tried and tried. And I think he was so physically burnt out and mentally burnt out that I had to tell him to just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Go take a shower, go to bed, dude. But yeah, we crushed him, poor guy. But he did it. He survived. And then we came in, all day Monday. I mean, it literally was from 8 a.m. That's when I got there.
Right.
8 a.m. until, when did we stop? 9:30?
Probably, yeah.
And we took a lunch. We had a real quick breakfast. We had a lunch and a real quick dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was playing drums all day. That's impressive.
Yeah.
He hung in there, man. He was a champ.
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of feel bad about it. I still feel bad. But hey, when the time crunch is there, you got to step up the plate. And he did. And then Tuesday morning, we knocked out, I think, 2 or 3 more songs.
Mm-hmm.
And the pizza song, I think, was one of them. Which
Yeah,
was kind of
that was the last one that everyone did.
So it was just kind of like, it doesn't matter. Just
Literally, the raw takes is what was on the album. We didn't even do any. Did we do any effects on or processing
I went back
on
and
that?
overdubbed the drums.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And we did some other guitar things, I thought.
I thought you said you just did raw.
Maybe we didn't. Yeah, maybe we did just... Well,
it sounds raw.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. The only thing we did was that we redid the drums and we did the vocal.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Yeah, you're right.
That's pretty funny.
It was such a blur, dude. I don't remember half of the things I did. My eyes were so cooked. The drum editing thing, because I didn't want to track guitars and bass with the drums
right
unedited, that wore me out.
Mm-hmm.
I was losing it. It was tough. It was really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other part that made it bad was I had someone else who was going to do that. So we record a song, and then I stick it up on Dropbox. They edit it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just move on.
Yeah.
And then they edit, and then we move on, edit. And then what I was hoping was come Wednesday morning, everything would be edited and in the Dropbox, and then we just go to guitars.
Yeah.
Right.
Or Tuesday afternoon, instead of me sitting there doing that, because I'm fast at it, but I'm not super fast. I don't do a lot of drum editing. I usually sub it out. And unfortunately, at the time, I couldn't find anybody. I almost went on Facebook and went into a couple forums and just said, hey,
I need this done.
$75 a song, please, God, edit these. But that's important, though. As you may think you're an atomic clock like Gene Hoglan, but even Gene Hoglan has some of his stuff, I'm sure, moved around.
Mm-hmm.
And or maybe he doesn't. Maybe well, he is Gene Hoglan. But you don't want to track, especially for your genre, you don't want to track guitars until you get the drums where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse, unfortunately, because we just killed him that day, there was some washiness, and we had to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to sometimes overlook some things that maybe I wouldn't normally do because there literally wasn't the time, and Jesse did not have the energy. And so it was like, oh, well, do we keep him alive, or do we?
He didn't have the stamina.
I voted to keep him alive. So, but anyway, the drum editing, that's part of it. It's just necessary in your genre. And,
Right.
well, in most rock-oriented genre, any genre, it's just good to move things around and make it clean. So then when we lay the guitars down on it, it's really tight. All the hits and the stops and all that stuff are really tight. So anyway, we did all the drums, and then we started doing guitars.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jonah, I don't know, maybe talk a little bit about that. What we play through?
Yeah. So actually, Chandler started off the day with guitars.
Because he had to go to prom.
Yeah, he had to go to his senior prom. But I think he started out with I'm All Right. Maybe. I know he had to do...
Tonight.
I thought it was... Yeah, it was one of the ones off the EP that he had done before.
Well, I know that he also did I'm All Right, at least one side of it, because he had his little solo thing that he did, the hook. So he actually wrote that part. But then after he had to leave, I took over the rhythm and the lead section, and it was pretty. I've recorded stuff like by myself before, but actually like having someone there to like work
engineer
engineer it was very helpful. Like I didn't have to stop my change positions of where I was. I could stay in the same mindset and be like, no, I want to redo that. But it was also pretty. It was kind of nerve-wracking having everyone in the room listen to ideas that you put down, because it's sometimes like.
I think although when you were doing Well, when you were doing rhythm stuff, there were more people there. But,
yeah,
but Ben had left, the bass player, and Jesse was sleeping.
Yeah,
sleeping or watching movies, and then Chandler was gone. So it was
it was more. It was more when I was doing lead stuff later that it was a little nerve wracking when we wanted to change the leads, and I was trying to figure out what exactly we wanted to do. But for the rhythm stuff, it was mainly just getting the hits close to on the beat as I could, especially the fast down picking stuff like in Tonight, getting the Set Me Free, the da 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 da, like getting those perfectly aligned. That was a little difficult, but in the end, like do as many takes as you can to make it sound good, because having those off a little bit can really throw off the groove of the song, and the
velocity of the playing too, because that if you're not hitting hard enough, you're not really going to get the best sound. And I think you were
got to be mean to your guitar.
Got to be mean. You play Black Star, that's kind of your thing, but while you were on the road, you were using Mesa's
triple rec.
Chandler's playing a dual.
Yeah.
Now triple recs, that's what I played. And if you don't hit you got to hit hard enough for those amps to respond.
Yeah.
Right? Now I think they're great amps. Most guys don't like recording them, which I kind of agree. I unfortunately at the time didn't have my 5150, which would have been the best amp I think to record with, but that one had a power section issue, and so it was it wasn't there. But we used the triple rec.
Yeah.
And
with a tube screamer going through.
Yeah, we put a tube screamer on the front. And that's the little secret there. I've got a tube screamer. So anybody listening, when you're going to record heavier guitar tones or just distorted tones, you take a tube screamer and you turn your drive all the way off and you turn your level all the way up, and you can, or somewhere up there. I just turn it all the way up. And you can sweep your tone around and kind of get dial in the tone about where you want it. That cleans up. It does something with the mid range. I'm not really sure. The only way I can describe it is that it cleans it up. Gives it a little more of a bite. It's more articulate. But then we ran that into the Mesa. We used the second channel, and it sounded. I thought it sounded pretty good. We used an old 1989 Mesa halfback. That's what was in the other room.
Gotcha.
Just a 57.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. And we used the same thing for leads, except for. Did we do a lead on a no, we used that for everything, didn't we? Or we used the 11 rack for something.
Did we use amplitude for something?
Maybe we did.
I think we might have done that for lead, because I think I remember us dialing in a tone like in the control room for lead stuff.
On Amplitude?
Yeah.
Okay. I like Amplitude. That's a good program. It sounds really good. So that gave us our guitars. And
one thing about guitar that I remember happening that was surprising to me but gave us really good results was whenever Jonah or Chandler had something that they were playing an octave, I remember that they recorded one note of the octave first by itself and then recorded the other part of it so that it was a lot cleaner and more tight.
Yeah, I split those up because then you're not getting the raking sound over the string in between.
Yeah.
And then they're also being articulated at the same time instead of getting this wow, 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 wow kind of thing. One's being hit before the other. So essentially you're playing like you're playing a lead and then doing a harmony over the top, but you're playing two different parts. We did that. I mean, I can talk about it, but what about some of those parts that you played up top? What kinds of things were we having to do? Tuning. You could explain.
Yeah, so I'm running a Telecaster right now, and I bought it used, and I didn't realize how much of an intonation problem that thing had until we got into the studio, and I tuned it up, and I was playing the rhythm fine, and then I went to play some lead stuff, and I was like, oh, this sounds like garbage. And I thought there was one time when I honestly thought I played the wrong fret, but it was just the fact that my guitar is so badly intonated that it made we had to tune to the note, like basically meaning you had to, where you were going to be playing on the neck, you had to play that note, tune the strings to that note so that like when you hit it open, it's either sharp or flat.
Yeah.
And But when you hit in that specific area, it'll be in tune. So we had to do that for some of the lead parts.
I think there were a couple chords too. Like anything on a guitar's a cool instrument, but it's kind of poorly designed.
Yeah.
In that, really, if anything above, if your guitar is really well intonated, anything above the 5th fret, you start kind of, it starts going a little out of tune.
Yeah.
Now there's you got fan frets and things like that that kind of help that, but we weren't playing a fan fret guitar. You were playing a Telecaster.
Would have loved to play a fan fret, man. I want one.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
And then you played Dawson's Les Paul a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that was for the solo for All I Am.
Yeah,
was his Les Paul.
And but one of the things that you have to do, and we had to do this, even if your guitar was really well intonated, we still would have done this. I had just the tuner up on the screen, and it was like, Jonah, tune that chord. So Jonah would make the shape or play the note and actually tune that particular note, and then we would track it. So we knew that those notes were actually going to be in tune with everything else in the song.
Yeah.
Because when you went up to play it, it was maybe a little flat because you were playing up on the 10th fret or something like that. So that's something that you would do. Now you've learned. Now this is your first situation of actually being in a studio, someone recording you. So I think you learned quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a really good experience, and I've definitely been able to take that back to the stuff that I do on my own.
Yeah, because now the stuff you bring in sounds incredible. You bring in these demo things. It's like, man, the guitar tone sounds good. The drums are cool. Everything's good. So it doesn't take much. It's just a matter of watching. Oh, well, that's easy.
Yeah. And understanding that, getting good tones and being able to do this stuff, that you can put a lot of money into it, but I have not spent I spent less than $500 on what I have, and I'm doing it. So it's, it's something that people can do.
Definitely. I know people can't hear kind of what we're referencing, but the stuff that you're writing and coming in here and we're working on, the tones that you're getting are, your guitar tones are what just coming straight out of the back of your Blackstar. Isn't it like a USB thing?
It's like an emulated output, and it emulates a 4x12 cab, and it just goes straight into my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2.
Yeah, and see, it sounded like to me that you were miking up a full stack in a room. I mean, it sounded good. So whatever you're doing, and that sounds good. And then you use Easy Drummer. I use the Slate, but we've been, you can get the job done cheap. Nicer gear is, it's good. If the performance isn't good, it doesn't matter. So if you have really, really nice gear, you're just going to have like really detailed garbage if you have poor performance. So it doesn't matter.
Really detailed garbage.
Well, I mean, think about it. It's, really, really good mics and appropriate mics for the situation. Unlike right now, I'm not using the most appropriate mics for a podcast. Maybe the 7B is about the only one. But making sure you're using the right kind of mic and the right timbres and things like that for the right situation. That's more important. And placement. I think the tendency now is for people to reach for processing.
Yeah.
Go and tweak that EQ, go and put more compression on it, go and do this. And really all they need to do is maybe move the mic. Because I think you could get most of what you need to get done and get really, really great tones. I think a lot of times people who get poorly recorded stuff are about an inch away from amazing tone.
Yeah. It is sometimes hard to find that.
It is hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially when your rooms are changing and stuff. And I know, I'm building this new studio, so I'm going to have to get used to the way that sounds.
Yeah.
But there's kind of rule of thumb stuff. But at the same time, you want to experiment and try new things. Like the idea of putting a 57 on a snare, it has worked for a long time, but why not try some other things, spend some time to make, kind of find your own thing. But in your situation, because we were moving so fast, I didn't really have a lot of time to experiment. Right. So we just stuck a 57 on that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. We'll put it right just off axis from the dust cap and the cone on the speaker, and then we're good. But yeah, it's got to be good performance. Good performance, mic placement, and mic selection. That's always important. You can use cheap mics too. cheaper mics. They tend to be kind of bright sometimes, but you do that and make sure what you're capturing is really, really excellent, and then begin to add processing.
Yeah.
But you always have gear fever. I've got 2 Apollos, and I'm right now speaking through a Toft ATC. So it's Jonah, and then Dawson's just going straight into the Apollo.
Oh wow, I see how it is.
Yeah.
We don't want you on ours.
Yeah. So sure, that stuff's expensive, but I've been doing this for a long time. I've been able to accumulate that. But people who are just starting out, you have a Focusrite i2i, right? 2i2, and that's what, a 2-channel.
Yeah,
and that's fine. You can get, obviously you're getting incredible sounds. So you don't really need to have it. It's taking the time to make sure you're getting good sounds, and then moving on.
Yeah,
and committing to those sounds. So lots of guitar. Maybe talk about the actual lead process, because you had stuff that you were playing on tour up to that point.
Yeah.
And then you came in and you and I had a chance to work on it. I wanted to make sure that I suggested but stayed out of your way.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Well, what was it like?
Maybe a little nerve-wracking in the beginning, but
yeah. I think the biggest lesson I learned from that, and what we've kept saying now, is I'm playing now for the song, and I'm not trying to be the focal point, which is previous to Among the Wolves, I was only writing metal stuff, and I feel like, the guitar is one of the focal points in that genre, while in what we're doing with Among the Wolves, the guitar is just support for the song, and it just adds another layer. And so I think realizing that, and knowing that my leads don't have to be insanely impressing, like in the fact that this is so fast and like I'm moving all over the neck, I can stay in one position and it could be the best lead line I've ever written.
Yeah.
And
it's really, is that some of this, nobody cares.
Right. Yeah.
It's the song that matters. We're guitar players. So
Yeah.
we want to write music that impresses guitar players, and we tend to get lost in the weeds sometimes doing that.
Yeah.
And we forget that, guitar players are, that there's not as many of them as there
Yeah.
are people who just want to hear your music. Yeah.
And I think it was also, not just writing like things that sound cool, like as a guitar player, but also like when you write the lead lines, write a melody. Don't just write, something that you can play. Like, don't play a scale, don't play an arpeggio, play something that you can sing.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest change from what I was playing on tour and then we went into the studio is probably my addiction, because I was running up and down a C triad, C arpeggio, and then G and then F, and kind of like sweeping through those.
Yeah, it was kind of cheesy too.
Yeah.
It just sounded like something out of the Berkeley book. Or,
Yeah. And then Dawson was like, da, 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 da. And I was like, we're going to do that instead. I don't know. It sounded so much better. And so, I don't know, I think that was the main thing that I took away and that I started implementing into our newer songs. Yeah. It's helped a lot.
I think my producer, who's Tim Bushong, I was doing some leads for him, and he kind of busted me up a little bit. But he said, how would Aretha Franklin sing that? And I remember thinking, what does that mean? That's stupid. And I actually thought about it, and he said it again, and he's like, well, no, how would Aretha Franklin sing that, what you just played? And in reality, what I had just played, Aretha Franklin probably couldn't have sang it because it was all over the place, But what he was getting at was, play something that you can sing. And you said that I wrote things that I would, write something that you can sing. But at the same time, the other part of that is play it the way you would sing it.
Yeah.
So then there's, don't just play something. And this goes back to performance too. Don't just write something that's really, really cool and catchy. That's step one. But the next part of it is then, if you're going to play something that someone could sing, then you also need to play it the way that you would sing it.
Yeah.
And as you're in my guitar studio, and we're doing more classical kind of stuff all over the place. But I think you're learning that, and it sounds so much more authentic.
Yeah.
When you, first off, this is a line that I can sing, and I think Ace Frehley was really good at writing lines like that. And you could sing his leads. You could sing most of his leads. He didn't flail all over the place, and and they're really catchy. There's a lot of guitar licks out there, even saxophone licks and stuff like that are in pop tunes from 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s that you hear it and you instantly go, oh, that's that song.
Right.
And that's what I think you were catching on to.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted you to do and hear it. And then when it gets played back, then you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. But like, again, at the beginning of My Addiction, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that's really cool. And then people can sing that and they hear that. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it becomes, it's the character of the song. I know there's a lot of 80s tunes. There's like keyboard things that I just love the sound of. And obviously everybody knows Jump, that Van Halen tune. But there's... Oh, yeah, there's that. That's really, really catchy. I think it was Mike and the Mechanics that did the "Can you hear me? Can you hear me running?" That song. I don't know. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da, and the keyboard. I don't know. Maybe you guys are too young for that song. But for me, I remember that, and I love that sound. That's that ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, and the keyboard, and instantly I would hear that song. Go, oh, that's And actually, there's a Ronnie James Dio song I remember, "The Last in Line," with the last in line, bum bum bum. Anyway, I remember hearing that the very beginning of the song. That's that song,
right?
And it was so catchy. But I think that ended up translating in most of the songs because I think every single song had some little, with the exception of maybe the pizza song, but.
That's an instant classic, and you know it.
Yeah, something like that. We probably should have just put one mic in a room and let you guys do it.
That song was in our top 5 on Spotify for the longest time.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know if that's sad or if that's great.
Oh, it's great. But I think most of the songs ended up having some kind of a hook on the guitar. There's one song that had this crazy bass line.
Oh, Set Me Free.
Set Me Free. No, that
one had like impressive licks kind of in every
there was a lot going on in that song.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot going on, but it was definitely trucking forward.
It had that really cool reggae
section.
That
little like reggae break in the middle. Yeah.
That was fun.
And then that's most of the guitar stuff. I don't know. I mean, it was the Mesa. We did a little bit of tone stuff with Amplitude. You guys did your bed tracks with Amp Room or whatever it is on the Apollo.
Yeah.
So it was pretty straightforward.
It was a fun time.
Yeah, we did all the rhythm stuff, I think, in one day, and then started on leads that same day, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like Wednesday afternoon, and then part of Thursday. Oh, we did bass on Thursday.
Bass was Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, and Ben blasted out everything.
Yeah.
Like that. So, and then we got to vocal time, and Dawson couldn't. He couldn't sing. Although we've got our little savior sitting next to your arm over there, the breathe.
Oh yeah, the inhaler, the vapor. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
thing.
Yeah. See, up next to cookies and other things in your studio, one of the next most important things is that Vicks vapor breathe thing, whatever it is. What's that thing called?
Inhalador de vapor. Steam inhaler.
Why did you read that first?
English.
Oh.
Well, I think what people think is when your voice is dry or you're in the studio or whatever, and it's like, man, I can't sing and my throat's dry. They sing in Spanish, like you. The idea is, well, just drink lots of water. Well, all it's going to make you do is have to pee, and. Oh, yeah, sure, it is hydrating. It maybe, it's hydrating your mouth, but it's not getting moisture into your sinuses where your voice is going to resonate. It's not getting moisture into your trachea, which is what you actually use to breathe and sing through. You're just putting water down your esophagus. But the breathing, the steam actually moisturizes your vocal cords, and it moisturizes your sinuses, and it helps you resonate a little better. So that's definitely a trick. If you can't buy one of those, just boil some water and have them breathe some water. But I think
the
that
boiling water.
Breathe the boiling water through a straw. But I don't know. Do you think that helped? Did it feel like it helped?
Oh yeah. I think the two things that really helped the most was drinking lots of tea and the steamer. Just having like warmth in my throat all the time to help it heal.
What did you do with that tea? You put something in it, like
oh yeah. So I got
Jim Beam.
I had lemon. Jim Beam. It was like lemon echinacea or something like that.
Oh, echinacea.
Yeah. And then I put honey in it, because honey is your friend when you're a vocalist. So that
because it tastes good.
It tastes good, and it also soothes your throat. So
what a dork! But we cranked out all the vocals in like 2 days.
Yeah.
So whatever, and I think the vocals turned out well. I mean, other people can they can think whatever.
Haters
they want.
gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. I think I think it turned out well. But the steam thing is definitely a trick. Whatever Dawson was doing, everybody, I think there's a lot of producers that have their, special vocal drink. To me, it's just drink lukewarm water. I personally think, but drinking something hot, that's fine. I think coffee and tea, I have trouble drinking tea when I have to sing, but you're putting honey in it.
And
but
it's decaf.
Yeah, okay, it's decaf. Yeah, because tea and coffee, caffeine in general, it's a diuretic. So it's going to kind of dry you out, and then you're going to pee. But it also, if you drink tea, especially cheap tea like that Bigelow stuff, you drink that, it makes your mouth feel dry. You know what I mean? Is it just me? It makes your mouth feel dry, maybe makes your throat feel a little bit dry. The honey definitely helps with that, but some people can drink coffee and sing. I know I drink coffee when I'm singing, but that's maybe because I'm an addict. There's some people who drink a whole fifth of Jack Daniels and then they sing fine like that. I cannot imagine.
The lead singer of Chunk supposedly drinks an entire pint of whiskey before shows.
Holy. Man's man. Does he get his lyrics correct?
Yeah, I think for me, before I'm gonna sing, I do this well before then. I like to drink that lemon tea with honey, just to get just to physically warm up my muscles, and then after that, it's just all water, like room temperature water.
Yeah, room temperature. And some people will, they'll argue against, back and forth with this. I don't think it's a good idea if you're getting ready to sing to drink like ice cold water. I think it restricts your throat.
Yeah, it contracts your muscles because that's what cold does.
And it does make you strain. You have to sing. Well, the other part of it, it's, you rub ice on something and it kind of numbs it. Maybe this isn't the case, but I feel like if I drink really cold water, I run the risk of damaging my voice faster or wearing myself out faster because I feel like I'm straining more to sing. And again, maybe that's just me. I don't want to say that this is how it is for everybody, but for me, if I drink really cold water, my throat feels restricted, more restricted than usual.
Oh yeah.
If you drink lukewarm or room temperature water, or something warm, I think it's got a more positive effect. Being in the studio, having vocalists come in, it seems like that's the case. If you want to belch and stuff during your singing, then drink carbonated stuff. But don't drink anything carbonated. Don't drink milk or have dairy and things like that before you can sing because it phlegms you up, and then you get burpy and farty in the studio. We don't want farts in the studio.
No farts
except
in the studio.
for Mike's little. There it is.
There we go. There it is. That's it.
Signature move.
So we finished. So we got everything tracked and on tape or on Pro Tools tape. See, when I started, my dad had were DAT machines, so it was like digital tape.
Oh yeah.
It was a scary era between analog tape, and then they used like VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And these DAT machines, they were 8-track. You can get 8 tracks on them, and I think you had Fostex ones. I don't remember. And you put a VHS tape in it, and you could get 8-track, and then they sync up like tape machines did.
Mm-hmm.
And it wrote ones and zeros on it.
Yeah.
And digital, but it wasn't printing like an analog signal onto the tape. So it was. I think, I don't know if it was a good format or not. I never really worked with it. I just know I haven't really heard good things about it from guys, that in the 90s that were using that. But yeah, it was DAT. We're definitely not using that. We're using Pro Tools. But
shame.
We can go back. We can find some DAT machines. I'm sure we could find them pretty cheap on eBay. See, there we go. That should be a goal of ours. The next record you put out.
Next record, all DAT.
Done on DAT. Going back to the 90s.
DAT boy.
We're gonna record it on DAT.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if I'd want
puns.
to. Yeah. So anyway, we've got the record out now, and I think it turned out pretty well. It took me a little bit to really zero in on the sound, because there was so much stuff sonically going on. I think the guitar was so great, that, and I was getting used to the room too.
Yeah.
So I picked up a lot of extra things, and I ended up having to low pass or high pass quite a bit of stuff because there was so much low end in that room that was getting into the microphones. And I don't typically like to record with a high pass on because I feel like I might cut something off that I would want later. So, but yeah, and then Dawson sang through the 7B into Little Cloud Lifter, which was helpful, and then right into the Apollo, same chain you're using for the most part now. Just used Apollo plugins, the UA610 into 1176 and LA2A, and that was it. Pretty simple chain. If you have an Apollo, it's pretty cool that you can use plugins. It's like having an infinite rack of outboard gear, so you could sing through all kinds of great things in a small setup. It's really nice. That's it. The record's out, and you guys are gearing for more stuff. We're writing things now. Actually, the way we're writing now, all the guitar tones and everything are direct.
Yeah.
So we're in a little room. We're using the Ingalls. Ingle heads. And since we're talking about what we made recently, you guys did the Christmas song.
Yep.
And we just played through. No, we did Marshalls. We played through.
Yeah, we used Marshalls on that one.
Marshall JMP and an Plexi, and it had the tube screamer on the front. I thought
we used an Ingalls for one of the lead parts.
Maybe we used an Ingle.
We're using Ingalls for No Home No Problem.
Yeah,
that's right. And then, you used a Marshall Plex or JMP, and then we used that Friedman because I've got it in the chain right there.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, so we used the Friedman on the other side. So, again, we're talking about making a record. These Apollos are so cool. So definitely look into that. But it really makes your studio, if we wanted to, I could pack those up in this rack back here, and we could record anywhere we wanted.
Yeah.
Because I've got, you don't have to lug around racks of gear, but it's done. We're moving on. Christmas song's out. We got new stuff coming out. Is there any projected date for any other releases?
Next release will be Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Is it going to be a
it's
cheesy release?
It's something special, man.
Another
special.
pizza song.
Another pizza song.
It's something special, part 2, huh? All right. Well, we did this in the first episode, but why don't you tell us again where we can find you? Where are we going next?
Sure. You can find us on Instagram at ATWBand, Facebook.com/ATWWolfpack. Our website is www.atwolves.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all those good places.
Find me at my house sometimes.
What a dope. You guys are booking a tour right now as this podcast comes out.
Yeah.
You guys don't have a booking agent because we're still pretty DIY and getting rolling, but you've had some success. We've talked with Nate Nate Rising or Nate Schumacher from formerly of FBS. He might be helping you guys out.
Yeah.
Actually, we talked to him about maybe playing bass, but we'll see. We'll see what the future has in store for you guys. And you are looking for a bass player right now.
Yes, we are.
So booking agents and bass players ready to hit the road.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, guys. Cool.
Alrighty.
Merry Christmas.